Do you remember the hype around the original Cloverfield before it came out? I remember everyone talking about how intriguingly vague the trailer was, and that image of the Statue of Liberty's severed head on the ground in the streets of New York. Found footage films weren't anything new back then. Hell, it was almost a decade after Blair Witch Project. But they weren't nearly as dry and used up as they are in today's post-paranormal activity, etc. world. And the prospect of this crazy, mysterious government project, disaster, whatever it is, got plenty of people pumped up, even before they knew the title for the film and it was just known by its release date. And then it came out, and though it made nearly double its budget back in its opening weekend and is generally fairly well regarded today, once word got out and everyone knew the premise, the hype just suddenly fizzled out. There was a kind of collective, oh, and everyone stopped caring. Which is sort of a shame, because it's atypical for its genre in some really cool ways. It's a good time. I'd definitely call it above average. I think the best part of the trailer is its focus on the true subject of the film, the people. Now, real quick before I go any deeper, I can't really say anything more about the film without talking about the basic premise, though everyone pretty much knows what it's about at this point, and in retrospect, it's pretty easy to infer what's going on from the trailer, as quite a few people did. I'm just gonna let you know, in the unlikely case you're still in the dark about this film, that I'm about to give some fairly minor spoilers here. It's revealed pretty early in the film, and I wouldn't say it diminishes the impact of the overall experience, otherwise I wouldn't mention it at all in this video. But if you haven't seen Cloverfield yet, and you already know you want to, and you want maximum potency out of the few minutes span between the start of the conflict and the reveal of its nature, feel free to skip to the time listed on the screen. So as I was saying, not showing the monster in the trailer worked both as a marketing gimmick to drum up hype, but also to highlight what the film is really about. This is different from your average monster movie, because it's not about the monster. It's about the effects of the attack on this group of people, and their journey as the catastrophe takes place. It's similar to why I like the 2015 Godzilla more than a lot of people, since it had a lot of shots on the ground showing the reaction of the populace, while we could only see the feet of the monsters, which also helped to give us a real sense of their scale and how terrifying it would be to actually be there. But while Godzilla 2015 had moments of that, Cloverfield is all that, since it's told 100% from the point of view of a dude holding a camera during this attack. This makes it a much more personal film, as we spend a lot of time with these characters trying to cope and figure out what to do. And the characters are interesting and relatable, despite some stupid decisions. You can see where they're coming from, and I genuinely felt bad when bad things happened to them. Now, some people hate the found footage, handheld camera style of filming. It even made some people sick watching it for an entire movie, which I can certainly understand, but it didn't really bother me personally. It worked to ground it as someone's personal experience, and I liked that TJ Miller, the actor who played the guy holding the camera, actually filmed a good part of the footage that made the final cut. But I didn't really buy it as found footage because it's edited. Some of the cuts made sense, like, yeah, he might have turned off the camera here, because they're just walking and nothing's going on, but sometimes it's clearly cut for pacing or other reasons that clearly highlight this is a movie and not some random guy's camcorder footage. Especially when it cuts back to the previous footage of the camera owner's date, at conveniently opportune moments for emotional impact, or when they happen to mention it. I'm not saying they should have cut it less or less conspicuously. I get that they had to keep the pace moving, and the cuts are good. Many of them are pretty sneaky, too, unless you know what to look for. But it just worked better when I thought of it as a movie with a first-person perspective, instead of, this is an SD card that the government retrieved. Here is the footage. But it is well done. It's intense, the special effects are sparing enough that the small budget doesn't shine through in a bad way, and the characters are well acted and scripted enough that I actually wanted to follow them around. It's a pretty good film as long as you can handle the shaky cam and can forgive some implausibility stemming from the contradictions between the form and the intended contextual interpretation, as well as a few individual plot moments. For example, I refuse to believe the incident in the subway tunnels would have gone as well as it did. These are relatively minor issues, though, compared to all the good and unique things this film has going for it. It's not my favorite or anything, but I do recommend it if it interests you at all.